Welcome, everybody, to Broadcast Team Alpha, where we bring you cutting edge conversation while exploring the quantum possibilities. I see you guys in the chat room. Good to see you. We're going to have a really interesting conversation tonight, and I'm really excited about it because things are changing so quickly. And the truth, if the truth is an onion, right, we're forever peeling that onion. We're kind of
Welcome,
down
everybody, to
into the middle of
Broadcast Team Alpha.
so much is coming out. And a lot is coming out for people that are just new to peeling the onion. They don't know how to really integrate this yet. So if you're new to this, I just invite you to suspend your disbelief just for the next 50 minutes and just see if something in here in our conversation tonight resonates with you. See if anything maybe gives you an aha moment, or maybe you might even have a memory. I want to thank you for being here, and I'd like to invite you. I knew it was an I word. I'd like to invite you to our mastermind connection group. It's Sunday night. It's Sunday afternoon, 2 p.m. Eastern, and how many millions of people were influencing the weather pattern, right? Milton, that just happened. Well, we were one of them. We were one of the groups that was working on that. And we work on weather patterns. We worked on peace during the previous elections. We work on personal health and animal health. And we work on so many things just by meditating and getting a beautiful vision of the way that the new world is going to be. If you would like to join us, you can just send a contact form from broadcastteamalpha.com website, or you can send an email, get your pen ready, it's a big one, to the mastermind connection, all one word, with THE at gmail.com. We'd love to see you there. Come hang out with us. We have a lively chat at the second hour, and a lot of really good information comes out. So without any further ado from me, Augie, please introduce our lovely guest.
Okay, that we will do. This is going to be fun because we have Nancy Thames returning to Broadcast Team Alpha. We had so much fun last time that we just had to have this happen again. I want to say a couple of things about Nancy because she has some phenomenal information because of her experiences. Yes, she's an experiencer. And Nancy actually is a former Department of Defense employee, and that allows you to find some secrets that maybe she will talk a little bit about. So hang with us there, folks. She has lived many places around the world, and now she is coming out and talking about her experiences with many different types of extraterrestrials. And she has been had many different contacts. Um, Not abductions, it's more like visitations or invitations and just happenings to meet. So, and now she's going to spend the next hour with us. Some of the contacts that she's been in contact with is interdimensionals, and some of them are not. So, and some of them are just plain spiritual beings. So let's hear the rest of the story. Welcome to the show, Nancy.
Welcome, Nancy.
Thank you for having me. I'm very happy to be here. It's always great to be around you too.
So great to have you here. And we were chatting behind the show, and some of the things that we were talking about are just amazing. That I just have to ask you, Nancy, how did your life unfold that you landed here? I mean, did you see glimmers of this when you were a little girl, or you were not the usual, little girl like your friends, or how did that happen for you?
Well, I go back and I can remember around 2 to 3 years old having my visits with them. And, you know, at that time, it was fun. They made it fun and it didn't seem unnatural. You know, I had nothing at that point and stage of my life to influence me any differently. So I can remember telling my parents that there's beings in my room, and they would just start laughing and say, "Go back to bed. You're just, you know, having a dream," or something like that. And they just dismissed it. So I learned to just uh, brush it off too. So, you know, it's happened all my life. And it wasn't until I got to about adolescent age that when I was going to school and learning about biologies and sciences and reading books and listening to things on TV, Star Trek, etc. And I realized that a lot of people had different experiences than I did and had different opinions. And because of that interaction with the outside world and hearing their responses, it changed my contact experiences for a period of time because it made me question who I was and what was happening to me. So I began to experience fear and dread, anxiety, and all these things. So before, you know, I never experienced that. So it took me a while to figure out that well, first of all, the way it changed is that when they would manifest into the room, they've always given me, I'd say 5 to 10 minutes notice. And what I notice is that the vibrational frequency in my body will start to change. It starts to kind of like I use the word elevate because it's like the frequency increases. And so I know that they're coming. So this gives me time to mentally prepare myself. When I was little, it was no big deal. But as I got older, then I was be like, oh no, not now, all these type feelings. And a lot of times when they would manifest, I would keep my eyes closed, but I could sense their presence and feel it because they were always uh, changing my frequency in preparation to take me to their craft. So in that process, I would keep my eyes closed and I can remember them changing my frequency. And then as I would start to float up off the bed and be holding the hand of an extraterrestrial, then she would like lead me. It was a female. She would lead me through a ceiling or a roof or through a door, whatever, wherever I was. And the way that they changed my frequency is they would take either like an orb would go up and down, or they could use sometimes had a handheld type device, or sometimes they just use their consciousness, but it's a feeling of going from head to toe, toe to head, over and over, and your body starts vibrating at a faster and faster frequency. And then you get to a point to where you feel like you're like lifting up off the bed. And then that's when I would open my eyes, and then that's when she would take me by the hand and take me on. And in that process, depending on what my mood or how I felt, they are telepathic. So everything that I think they know, but everything I feel emotionally, they feel, and they feel it tenfold the amount that I feel, because in their reality, there is no anger, desire, anger or negativity, fear, anxiety. They don't experience these things in their realm. So they do not like these feelings. So they will either touch you or use their higher consciousness and black you out. And that's why you hear people talking about having missing time, is because they do not like the fear that comes out of humans. And also humans tend to get aggressive when they're, you know, extremely scared or feeling like they're under attack, or, you know, whatever you're feeling in your head. So they just tap you out because, you know, they're not there for anything other than for a purpose. And that is it's basically checkup or exams to check on the contactee experience or whatever, to check on our physical health, our mental health, our evolutionary process, because all of this is part of our evolutionary process. And they've been working on this for a very long time, trying to get us to this point. And that's the point that we're at now. So I will stop and let you ask me some questions because I kind of jumped ahead on you.
No, that was great. So when they would raise your frequency, would it be like, I don't know, like dissociating? you know, would,
No, I was fully intact. It was physically me. And it was just all of a sudden you're laying there and you feel your body starts to vibrate. And it's like your whole body, not just like you're putting a vibrator on your foot. It's your whole body vibrates. And it increases until you get to like it's a point to where you kind of levitate. You actually levitate. And as I would look around and I would be holding her hand, it was a female gray, by the way, and she's not gray. They don't go by the term gray. She's reddish brown, and they always travel in threes. And she had two other extraterrestrials with her, but she's the one, and I'm bonded to her, and I love her, and she loves me.
oh,
Very bonded. But you know, but I look down. You know, the bed is empty and I'm touching her and I'm like, is this real? And and she's like telepathically telling me, yes, this is real.
that's, and then what was your relationship, in that, I mean, it was a community, right, inside the ship, or?
Yes. So her purpose, her and the other two, they are hybrids created by the tall grays and the interdimensionals. Extraterrestrials have a problem with they don't have a problem. They do not like the density of Earth. They are at a much higher frequency, and to come down into this low density, low frequency, it is uncomfortable. It's not comfortable. So they created her. She is a hybrid. She is fully extraterrestrial. She is a hybrid that was designed to withstand the density. So she can stay longer periods down here on Earth and be more comfortable than they are. So basically her job is to tote me around, get me around. She is my escort or the guide, or a lot of people have different names for her, but she takes me to wherever I need to go. And then at that point, I don't see her. Once I'm on craft, then I'm around the interdimensional beings and all the other extraterrestrial beings, which are tall grays, all kinds of grays that are many different heights and different colors. There's over 60 different races of grays, reptilian, humanoids, aquatic beings. There's just so many of them, and they're all on this mothership working in unity together. And their goal is to assist humanity and help us through this evolutionary phase that we're in. And that's why they showed me a vision when I was 30 years old. I witnessed my two sons having their first contact. They were very young, like 5 and 3, something. I can't remember exactly, but they were very young, and I witnessed their being taken for the first time, and they put me in a sleep paralysis, fully awake, but I could not speak or move. And they wanted me to see that. And I was very angry, upset at the time. I didn't understand any of it, and I was angry. But it served a higher purpose that I didn't understand, that I now do understand, because they could have easily have done that and I would have never known. But they wanted me to be a part. Well, they didn't want me to be a part of it because of the mother bond. They would not learn anything. I would not learn anything. So they had to separate us in that way. But I got to see and know that they were having their first contact. So when that happened, they knew that I was very upset, and I basically demanded to know more information, like, why is this happening to me? Why is this happening to my children? What is the purpose? What does this mean? And so I meditated and asked for this information, and they came and they took me aboard a craft. And the female gray took me to a craft and took me before what was called a group of elders. And these were the interdimensionals, and they were of many representatives of many different races. And I went before them, and they explained to me that I had made a choice to be part of this evolutionary process before coming to Earth. And I was part of this program of ascension, of humanity waking up. And that they knew that I didn't understand it at the time, and I didn't at all. Told me they would be coming to visit me throughout my life to help me understand that it would take time. And it did, because I didn't understand any of that I heard what they said, but I didn't understand any of that. At 30 years old, I'm just a mom, a daughter, aunt, sister, etc. That I had no clue, but now I understand, and they've showed me, they did show me a vision because I was questioning it. So they opened this blue orb and showed me a vision, and I literally saw myself as an interdimensional walking through the process, and I watched myself, the essence of me going into my mother, and they showed me the vision of myself being born here on earth.
Wow.
Yeah. So it was, and that's what it took for me to mentally they will not overload you too much because our brains can only retain so much information. They have to do this kind of like in drips and drops, because it can be overwhelming at times. So, yeah.
Do you think your mother knew? Do you think anybody in your past family had any experiences? Do you suspect?
I know that my father had the potential to do what I'm doing now, but he chose not to. He's in his 80s now, and it was not the right time.
Yeah.
Humanity wasn't ready, and he
Yeah.
wasn't willing to put himself out there, but he did serve a purpose. He was my father. And
Yes.
one way or another, he did his role. We all are playing a role in this, whether we realize it or not. It's just like we're sitting here communicating now. This was probably pre-planned before, long ago. And it's all playing out now, but it's probably already been planned.
Yes.
It gets real deep. Yeah.
Wow. Wow.
Mhm.
How many times do you think you've been off planet or on the ship or
Oh, I can't even count. It
really?
happens all the time. If it's not physical, where I'm just watching like looking around in the room that I am and like making notations of things in the room, like, okay, I'm in my room. It is even during my dream state, I am there. So there's different levels of consciousness, and that is what they're working with me now, because we have different levels of consciousness which are quite different from our human consciousness. So a lot of times I get glimpses between these consciousness enough to let me know and learn from these things. And I also know that a lot of times I will start off here in my home, but then they will blank me out because their way of transporting me has changed. I don't know if it's because of all of the solar activity around the world, the weather, or the fact that more eyes are on the sky, if it's a precautionary thing to protect contactees, but they do it more. It's not so much, I don't go out through windows and doors anymore. It's more like a teleport type thing, but it's so involved that I know for a fact that in my human consciousness, I would not be able to do it, because a lot of times on my way back, I wake up as they're walking me to my bed. They have me like up under my arms, and it's like that most unbelievable amount of vertigo. Like I've been in a,
Oh,
like
I
in a,
bet.
it's underwhelming, and it's very strange. And they're just like getting me in the bed, and it's like I know exactly what's going on, but the vertigo is so weird that I just need to lay down. Yeah,
Wow. Wow.
and it happens a lot. It happens last night. It happens all the time. You know,
I'm
there's
wondering,
learn.
yeah, I'm wondering now, when you get to the ship, are
Yeah.
you being guided all the time? Somebody's with you all the time, or are you allowed to just wander off and see what's going on, what it looks like? What uh, what does it look like? How do they live? Do they have bedrooms like we do, and they get up in the morning and have breakfast, and then they get lunch, and then they work a little more, and then they take off at 5 o'clock? Or how do they live, those people? Do they have similarities of how we live, or is it totally different?
When I first get there, it's more of a greeting, and then it's more of a exam. They're checking my spiritual level, they're checking my mental health, they're checking, so many things about me. So, sometimes I've had medical attention or, procedures, they've done procedures on me. And sometimes I am free to roam around. And then other times, I'm being evaluated. Basically, I'm sitting and they're talking to me, but then there's always a group of peers that are in like a little far distance and they're evaluating me. You know, because through my eyes, they are seeing what's happening here on Earth. So it's kind of like, I guess they're gauging uh where humanity is on the level of, you know, where we are. They would not call it disclosure, but in contact, or what level are we on? So it's an evaluation. And I also know a lot of those people are my family members. I have family members still alive. They live much longer lives than we do. And I, to be honest with you, my son and I, we have the same experiences and the Kundalini awakenings and all these kind of things. And we have the deep conversations, which I love, but it could be, I don't have the proof for this, but it could be we are literally in a sleep stasis up on craft, and this down here is the dream. So, and it's like the way they explained to me, because I had a near death experience last March. The way they explained it, it's so strange. It's like there's different parts of our consciousness and parts of our higher self. And sometimes they'll pull a different aspect of our higher self to do things. It's very hard to explain, but it's like, sometimes it feels like, for my son and I both, it's like living a double life. It's like we have so much activity that we're doing there, and then during the day here, but it's, you have to learn to balance it out, because it can be overwhelming. A lot of people probably can't even do this, but it can be overwhelming. But they are very good about watching out for those type things, and to giving, for me, they seem to step in at my points of like, oh, I feel so alone doing this, but they will step in and do something to remind me, we're with you 100%. You're never alone. I'm never alone, and I know that because I communicate all the time with them. It's not, it's all the time, several times a day, that I'm, asking them questions, or, asking for more knowledge, or letting them know I'm ready for more, because I know that they don't want to give us too much, because it would just be too much for us.
Yeah, I would imagine they have to pace you, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and it's just like our ascension and our moving into a different dimension. Dimensions are not physical places. They're higher levels of consciousness, and we move into these things very, very slow, because it would be too overwhelming for humanity if it was like night and day, the change. It would be like people would freak out. So it has to be in a digestible fashion. That way everyone knows and feels they are a part of it, because they are. And that's very important, that everyone feels that they're a part of this, because this is about all of humanity. This is not about me or people in ufology. This is a worldwide phenomenon, and this is about the whole world, trying to get the whole world on board with waking up and ascending. But unfortunately, I don't think we're all going to ascend, but that's another story.
Yeah.
What is it? Have they talked to you about their work schedules, or how they work, their education? How long are they educated? Let's say they live 600 years. They probably have a little more than 7 years of education, so they
It's not,
probably educate.
when you get to their level of consciousness, it's more of a collective consciousness. So everybody already knows. So they don't have schools like we have. And they usually, when they're being genetically, like they have families, they experience love, and they'll have at least one child, offspring, at least one. They can have more. And there's different ways that they can have children. They can have it naturally, different beings have different ways, or they can do it genetically, like we're getting more and more into. So in the genetic design, they are usually genetically designed to be, if they're going to be in, say, a scientist, they're genetically designed to be more into that consciousness of thinking. So it's really, we just cannot compare. Our physics does not apply. Our thinking here does not apply. Our understanding of the world and consciousness does not apply. They are billions of years ahead of us in evolution. And, for example, you and I are sitting here, we're talking through our technology, okay? And if I wanted to go outside and have the same conversation with you, I'd have to carry the technology with me. In their reality, their higher consciousness is the technology. It is not a separate entity. It is, and they are not AI. A lot of people say, oh, I guess they're AI. No, they're not AI. They are biological beings, but different. And they have evolved consciously. And that is where we're headed. We're not headed towards being like the Borg or anything like that. We're headed into becoming more consciously aware and using that as our intelligence, and our technology will lead to that.
Mm. Lynn, Faith Inspired in the chat room has a question, and she asks Nancy, if you're here to spread information to us that we're not allowed to access under the guise of national security.
I don't quite understand.
Let me just read it the way she wrote it. Maybe it'll be better. Is Nancy here to spread information to us that we're not allowed to access under the guise of national security, like the information that we're not privy to? Are you
to that? We are privy to that information. And I want to point out something too. I was a civilian that worked for the Department of Defense, for the Army, as a dental assistant. I had no privileged information into secrets or anything like that. And as far as I know, they did not know about me. I think the Interdimensionals guided me into that job because they wanted me to experience that. So here's the thing. Our government has no control over what the interdimensional or extraterrestrials are going to do. They have no control. And once we realize our uniqueness, our powers that are within our DNA and within our own consciousness, and when we figure this all out, they will really have no control over us. They will, and the elites that have been operating, there's like 100 families that have been dominating our world and making all these decisions on, fluorides in our water, toxins in our air and our food, and, our baking systems, our pharmaceutical companies pushing synthetic drugs, which the drugs are not cures. They're little quick fixes. They can't make money off of intelligent, healthy human beings. So here's the kicker. They don't, there's a certain people that don't want us to ascend into this higher levels of consciousness because they are powerless. They have no more control. We will finally understand freedom for the true word of what it means. We will truly be free for the first time ever because we'll have all this knowledge here. We will not look to them for information. We won't need any information from them, and we will know the truth. And part of this thing of this ascension also is all of this negativity must surface. And that's why we're seeing a lot of these exposures of these horrific things, and a lot of things with the weather and all these things. A lot of things have to occur on this planet to wake the majority of the world up, because this is a worldwide phenomenon, and sometimes it takes these measures to make the world wake up and realize, our planet's not happy with us. we need to start being better stewards of our planet. So, all these things these things is a divine plan for humanity to become better versions of ourselves. We'll never be perfect. That's just not part of it. But we can strive and become a better version and make better decisions and live in learn to play in the sandbox together, so to speak, without wars, without, we'll learn to, it will never be maybe totally perfect, but it could be so much better with unity and understanding our connections with one another and our connections with our planet Earth and all living creatures on it. This is a process of the world waking up and understanding our connections, understanding, looking within who we are. It's not so much, extraterrestrials have been around, whether people want to admit it or not. They've always been here, even before we were. What's so unique is human beings. We are the disclosure, in my opinion. We are the disclosure because we are figuring out who we are, our purpose, and our role on this planet, and our gifts that we can give to the universe and the cosmic realm. Yeah.
Oh, we are down to the bottom of the hour here. And for those of you that joined us late,
Right back.
we are talking with Nancy Thames, and we are talking about her experiences on extraterrestrial craft, as well as the mentality and how the extraterrestrials are. You got to go back and listen to it because she talked about where they come from, like interdimensional and so on. And in the second half of this hour, I would love to get into some of the conversations. What kind of messages are they giving us? What are they talking about? Their civilization, possibly, how they are, how they live, and how they would like for us to live when we become conscious. So you're back. Thank you for being with us. This is wonderful. I am all ears. So let's tell us more about these aliens.
ETs. Nancy, what do you feel like your main mission is with them? Like you're a liaison, right? Between us.
I don't really know, they're telepathic. They don't use words. They're not vocal, so they don't use words. They don't put names and labels on things. So, I never just ask them what I am. I just know that I incarnated from there, and I'm here to assist humanity. I'm here to help with the misinformation. I'm here to try to. I feel like everybody deserves a chance to know the truth. I understand that some people just really don't want to know, but I feel like that I'm here to put it out there and give them the opportunity. It's not kind of like what you said. Close your mind, don't prejudge and just listen. And you might have something that resonates with you. So the way I see it is that if one person resonates, it understands, and it makes a difference on their soul level. This is about our souls. This is about our souls evolving and moving on and understanding that we're not confined to this human vessel that we're in, So if I can help just a few, that's my mission, is to help what I can.
Mm-hmm.
And like I told you earlier, they tell me, even when I catch slack or whatever, because not everybody wants to hear this.
Yeah.
Be patient. Let evolution run its course. This is a divine plan. And most of these things people will figure out on their own due time, because we're all on a different spiritual path. People wake up or understand things at different times. So if we're patient, sooner or later, something's going to click with them. We just have to be patient and let the ascension and evolution run its course.
Yes, yes. And I bet there's a lot of people who don't think about it yet, but get to that point where there's just something, there's just something percolating inside and it doesn't make sense. And, they're afraid to ask the question, like,
Yes.
I want to know. I want to know, did I have an experience? Do I have memories? Am I part of a star family? Because if you ask, you're gonna find out,
I
right?
agree. And I think that's part of this is getting in tune with our inner self. I asked my subconscious to open up into my human consciousness because it's two different things. My human consciousness has blocked a lot of things to protect me, so I can survive here on earth. But this subconscious knows your past, your soul history. It knows why you came here and what your reasons were. So if we get in tune with our inner soul selves, that will help and guide us. And that will not be any lies. Your subconscious will not lie to you. That is pure truth. And that's very important. And if you meditate and get more in tune with yourself, and if you want contact with the interdimensionals or any extraterrestrials or star families, they're just sitting there waiting for us to reach that point, because they really, regardless of what's been said or all the seabed of misinformation, they contact people that are either have soul contracts prior to being born or are a direct lineage through incarnation, which that's what I am. But there's people make contracts to be part of this evolutionary process, but they don't remember it. And they think that they're being abducted. But see, they knew that. They knew humanity would not understand, but they also knew that we would be going through this ascension where we'll have increase of higher consciousness, which means awareness, understanding, knowledge, so we're all going to get there and say, oh man, I thought that was an abduction, but that was enlightened contact. It was part of a process to help humanity. So
That's right.
it's just kind of like they keep telling me, just be patient, people are going to figure it out. If they want to know who they are, and if they want to understand the world around us, not just within the confines of the three-dimensional world, which we're moving out of, and we're going to start to visually see more things. And they're not hiding from us. We simply can't see it with our visual range 3D. Yeah. So that's changing. That's changing. So that's why I'm helping people to get ready. So be ready. You're going to start seeing things. Yeah.
Yeah. And Linda, you're reading my mind. Linda said you have to find peers that make it safe to ask. And that's so true. Part of the fear of not wanting to know is what are you going to do with that information when you get it? So
Exactly.
there's like people like you, and I
Yes.
just want to do a shout out to the people over at Conscious Awakening Network, because if you go over there, there's a lot of information from A to Z. It'll take you all, across the spectrum so that you can find people that can help you bridge that gap when you finally ask.
And you mentioned earlier about your Sundays, you invited people to come to that. That's another way.
True.
That's just an
Thank you.
extension. Maybe you don't have the family to talk to. I know what that's like. It's hard. But you doing that and other people, are doing it too. And even on a local level, go to your library, start a paranormal group. You don't have to say, I'm a contactee. There's ways of doing this. You just say, I'm going to have a paranormal group meeting at the library. You'll be surprised. We had one here, had to shut the door down at 30 people for fire hazard because that's all the room would hold. But there were people that was coming out of the woodwork, and this is the Bible Belt in the South. I was shocked.
Wow.
Yeah.
Is there in your communication with them, is there a unified message that they are giving us about maybe what to do now and prepare for to do later? Or what are they telling us?
Well, for one thing, we should be thinking about after disclosure. We should be thinking about that. I don't think it's going to be as bad as the Orson Welles show. You know what I mean? People ran around with acting really insane. That's not going to happen. That's not the thing. But like she was just talking about, sure, we get all this information, but other family members just simply don't want to be a part of this ascension. They're just not willing to evolve. So we do need preparation for these people to be able to communicate and find people with like minds, because they need that support. We all need support. And that's the whole goal, is for us to learn to unify together. So it's important that I don't think anybody should be ashamed to speak up about it, but I do know that there's safety in numbers. So yeah, so I think they should seek out like organizations. There's plenty of organizations and meetup groups. There's all kinds of things. And I'm sure that even on your websites and on your post, y'all probably have links to some things like that. She mentioned the Conscious Network. So that's the way people need to do it, is look for links to these type things. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And a lot
Yeah.
of people, there's so many women that are putting out such incredible books. Ella LeBain, Constance, so many people are Sheila Sethi over at Conscious Awakening Network, she began the program for hybrid mothers, so it's out there if you ask.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're led to it.
And in my Facebook group, I'm trying to put links like that, and I hope, and I don't mind people sending me that information. That's what it's there for. It's for experiencers and contactees, abducted, whatever paranormal, anything. That's the whole point, is providing links in a safe place for people to be able to share their experiences and not be ridiculed. Yeah.
I got a question too about what have they told you about the process of raising consciousness and finally end up in a fifth dimensional existence? What about? Have they said anything about the ones that don't want to participate in that raising of consciousness? What happens to them?
They call it a shift or a split. It's kind of like, the way they explain it to me is that you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink it. Okay. And you can love people, but they're so negative, you'll find that you'll disassociate from them. That doesn't mean you don't love them, but you disassociate, because when you raise your frequency, it feels really good. And it's just very uncomfortable, just like it's uncomfortable for them to come down into this negative realm that we're in. So uncomfortable to them. We will become like that. We will disassociate. So you will find through different ways, but you'll just find that you'll separate. It's like kind of like a split of consciousness. There's going to be people that go towards the more positive ascension way, and that people are going to be locked into the same dimension. So it's kind of like they may just simply disappear from your life, which means you can look at it like they're in a different earth, or a different reality, or a different dimension, a different parallel course.
Right.
They're going to be looking at more of what some people call the recycling of the soul, because they haven't reached that part of understanding about the human soul is immortal. They don't understand that this is a mere vessel that we're in, temporary, compared to where our soul has many, there's no telling what all we've done. I would like to see it. That's one thing I asked to see. But so, I'm real careful about how I word this, because I have loved ones that may or may not be in the same path as me, and there's nothing I can do about it. There's nothing. But I don't think it's not going to be like a catastrophe or a wipeout, or there's no big ark coming down to save some of us, and that kind. It's not going to be like that. It is more of a. It's more like the way they explain it would just kind of disassociate, and then you just all of a sudden you just different reasons you don't see these people anymore. And it could be that they pass away. It could be that they disappear. I don't know. There's some things maybe I don't want to know.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just saying that's the human side of me saying, because it is it's very deep. And, that's why these things are important and we all need to know it. But, that's why I feel like it's so important that we get the information out there. Everybody deserves the opportunity. And if that's what they want, then we just have to accept that,
Yeah. Yeah.
It is.
It is it's a good thing because I know there are some people that I don't want to follow me.
Yeah. Yeah. Especially the ones that like war and
Yeah, there you go.
thing. Yeah. Yeah. So, and I don't know where they draw the line on how an individual, how far you have to, but we'll never be perfect. It's not about being perfect. It's about being a
And
better.
then the sages of old, the prophets back 2,000-3,000 years ago, the Christians, they talk about the rapture. And they're talking about the fact that, there are people that will just disappear.
Yeah, that's not going to happen. But in our reality, we may not see them, but it's not just like it's not going to be like we're going to go outside and it's like all of a sudden zoom, everybody's gone. I don't know. I know that it will be done in a way that is humane, in a way that it's digestible for us, because it can't be done any other way. It's a divine plan. It will be done right.
Yeah.
What advice do you have, Nancy, or words for people who are just frightened of everything that's going on right now?
Yeah. Get in tune with yourself. I mean, I know it seems kind of frightening, especially with all this weather and all these things happening, but you have to understand that our planet is a living conscious being. And, she is going through an ascension and she is moving and, reaching higher levels of consciousness herself. And we have to catch up with her, or we can it depends on how you want to live your life. Do you like where we're headed at this point in this 3D negative realm? We are headed towards the demise of our civilization, a destruction, the misuse of technology, the misuse of human beings, the misuse, all kinds of cruelty. This is a realm, this 3D realm is a negative realm. This is where all these things can occur. When we move into the fourth or fifth dimension, we are wiser, more conscious. We learn to respect one another. We learn to play in the sandbox together. We move away from wars. We move away from fights and stuff. We learn to use our intelligence to work things out. Things may never be perfect, but we handle them in a much more loving, unified level. So it just depends, how people, if they're happy with where we're headed in the world, or and if you can't see that our planet is changing and the world around us is changing, and that some major things need to change or we're headed in a bad way, then, I don't know what to say, because it's so apparent that things all around us, the indications are here. We need to evolve and become a better version. We can't be perfect, but we can be a better version of ourselves. Force will not get us anywhere. It only lines the pocketbooks of the rich who are making the weapons, who make money off of wars. So you just have to get in the right mindset, and we're going to learn that I am not Nancy from Mississippi. We're going to learn that borders, countries, we are all earthlings. We are all earthlings. We're going to come to a more understanding that we're all one. We're all united. We're all connected. We're all one. We're energy beings in a human vessel having a human experience. And we're going to learn to understand the unity of all of us, you know. These things don't happen overnight, but they have to start somewhere, and it's already begun.
It certainly
Yeah.
has.
I mean, it's pretty evident.
I'm wondering too if what do they understand? What have they told you about what they believe? Let me back up. But their understanding of what we call God is probably not. I would say when my mom made me go to church when I was a little kid, you know, the preacher told us there was this really old white guy, and he had long white hair and long white beard, and he's living there in the sky, and he controls everything, and he makes sure that he watches. And if you break anything of those 10 things that he doesn't want you to do, then you're going to be punished.
Yeah.
I think they gotten beyond that one.
Yeah, they believe in creator source, and creator source is not male or female, and it is like over the highest consciousness. It's like the collection of all consciousness. We're all part of it, you know, in a sense. We are all one. So, you know, there's different ways of looking at that, but it's, you know, one high source. And it's kind of like we're climbing up a DNA ladder, reaching closer and closer to that source. And it is higher consciousness and frequency. That's the key to reaching up to that level. And like when this vessel ends, okay, our soul and consciousness goes to source, and then it is decided where we go next, you know, because either it depends on what kind of soul contracts we've made. You know, if we've met our soul contracts that we were to do here on Earth, then we have a choice. We can try other forms, you know, in other planets, other universes, or be a dolphin, be a rock, you know, or we could decide to not even take a physical form and stay in an etheric form up with the highest consciousness. And their dimensions go way above the 12 that we know of. You know, there's no end. There's no end. So yeah, and they don't claim to have been the creator of us. They say they played a part in our creation. That's what they tell me. We played a part.
Yeah, I imagine that they also figured out that this universal consciousness is also learning and growing. So, with other words, God is learning and growing. Could that be it?
Yeah, and I guess we're all a fractal of that. So that consciousness is experiencing what we're all experiencing all at once, because in the higher dimensions there is no such thing as time. Everything's happening all at once, all at one time. So that consciousness is, and as we get closer and closer, we become more of a collective consciousness too. We get closer and closer. And that's the thing that we have to do, is raise our frequency to the same frequency as the extraterrestrials, so that we can really have the open contact that we want. But we can't do that right now because of the difference in frequency. And for me, it's never been about what they look like. It is the frequency exchange between a human being and an extraterrestrial. It is overwhelming. It is like a combination of extreme fear and extreme euphoria, all balled up into one. And your brain literally just is like, what is this? Because it's not something we experience here on Earth. And, you know, we try to rationalize it and come up with all these things in the back of our head of whatever we've been exposed to, or movies or books we've read. And a lot of times, even with missing time, our brain will try to fill in the blanks, you know, on what we think may have occurred. And a lot of times it's really not even the real occurrence. Yeah. It gets deep.
It's very deep. It's very
Yes.
expansive, right?
Yeah, it is. It is very deep. But, you know, I hope everybody can find a place that they feel comfortable with if they do want to learn more, and have people to share their experiences or ask questions or whatever. I really think that's very important. Um, you know, and I'm sure they can find something. Yeah. And I don't mind them coming to my group. It's time for disclosure. The website's time for disclosure. They can
Yes,
come there. If my room doesn't resonate, there's plenty others that they would certainly like. And there's, I'm sure y'all have that kind of information too. So I
so
think
you
that's
have
really-
you have a Facebook group and a website. Tell us about them.
yes. So both are open to the public and have a place where people can interact and have forum, and they can provide links and things like that. When they first join, we do like a screening to try to get out trolls. And so, but once that, we have like 18 moderators and 5 admin, 4 admin, and they can look at things and lock people out if need be. We try to keep it a safe place, but unfortunately, the world the way it is, sometimes want to get in, but if they report it, it gets fixed. But yeah, so there's plenty. I try to put in a lot of places and a lot of, all kinds of different places people can interact and share and get to know one another. And, you'd be surprised how many people have the same common things with you. It's just like I talked about having the meeting at the library. It was shocking. There's so many people out there and they just need the places to know the right places to go and get together. Yeah.
The name of your group is It's Time for Disclosure.
Time for disclosure / we've never been alone / we are the disclosure, because I think human beings are the disclosure. I don't think it's anything. Extraterrestrials have always been here. I don't think it matters what the government tells us at this point. They're not going to wait on them. So I think human beings, we will decide the moment that we have the true contact that we all,
Yeah.
Mm. Yeah. Well, everybody in the chat room is thanking you for creating a wonderful home for sharing our experiences. Victor said that for you.
Thank
And
you. That is really
yeah,
sweet.
yeah, we've got about 3 minutes left, and I'm so grateful to have you back and have this conversation with you tonight. It was really fun and informative as always. Are you going off planet tonight?
I don't know. I don't think about it. If it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, it doesn't.
Mhm.
But I every night I meditate, or I just really not meditate. I concentrate with intention, and tell them what questions are in my mind, or like sometimes even if people ask me something, if I don't know, then I'll ask them to help me with it and stuff. And they give me lots of ideas. So I write lots of articles in the group. A lot of it has to do with what they've shared with me.
Oh, that's awesome. You should check it out. Yeah.
Yeah, if you go
I
on
haven't
off
written a
planet,
book yet. I will at some point write a book, but I haven't yet.
Yeah. I was going to ask you.
Yeah, I will at some point.
yeah,
That's wonderful.
if you're going off planet tonight, give me a call. I like to get on the bus with you. And so, but hey, we're getting down towards the end, but there's one question I really like you to
Okay.
spend a little time on that answer, because there are somebody out there that need to hear it. And the question is, if you could talk to the whole world and the world is listening, what would you tell them?
Trust in yourself. Your soul knows your soul purpose. It knows the truth, and it will not lie to you. Get in tune with your soul self. And, once you get it figured out in your heart and in your soul, everything else will fall into place. That's the piece of the puzzle that everybody needs to understand the changes that's going on in the world, and to understand their role on this planet and with this evolutionary phase that we're going through, and with extraterrestrials and interdimensionals, because we're all connected. We are all connected in one way or another. We are all connected. And
Yeah.
that's the main thing, is just get to know who you are.
That's beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, this is wonderful. So,
Thank you.
well, there's so much more to talk about. sometime in the future, can I ask you to come back?
Absolutely. I'd like to talk more about the near-death experience. I'd like to talk about, where I experienced the transition, like where, our soul goes in transition. There's a lot of stuff, there's a lot of stuff we can talk about.
Oh, yeah.
I like talking to y'all. You're good about asking good questions and stuff.
Thank you. Thanks, Nancy.
Been fun.
Yeah, well, we're down to the last minute, and thanks everybody for being here with us. And don't forget, Aage has his Sunday night show, the paranormal show, 8 p.m. Eastern.
East Coast, yeah.
Yeah. And we're here every Thursday at 7 p.m. Eastern, and there's more coming. So thanks for being here, guys. Be safe. So much love to everybody. Thank you so much, Nancy. Thanks, Aage.